Alex's mother calls her every few months and says the same thing. You're just throwing money away. Alex rents a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,800 a month. Her coworker Dana bought a house the same year, on the same income, with the same amount saved. Dana's family thinks she made the smart move. Alex's family thinks she's falling behind. And when you run the actual numbers 5 years later, Alex has more liquid net worth than Dana. Not because renting always wins, because nobody in either family ever ran the math. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what renting costs you, what buying costs you, and the one number that tells you which option wins for your specific situation. Let's keep this fair. Alex and Dana are both 28 years old. They both earn $65,000 a year. They both have $40,000 saved. Same city, same income, same starting point. The only difference is what they do with that $40,000 and where they sleep at night. Alex uses her $40,000 as a financial cushion and keeps renting. Her apartment is $1,800 a month. She invests the $40,000 in a total market index fund and sets up an automatic $400 monthly contribution. She doesn't own anything. She can't paint the walls without asking. Her mom calls every 3 months. Dana uses her $40,000 as a down payment on a $320,000 home. She takes out a 30-year mortgage at 7% interest. Her monthly mortgage payment is $1,863. That's only $63 more than Alex's rent. On paper, it looks like Dana is building equity while Alex is flushing money down the drain. Dana's family is proud. Alex's family is worried. But feelings and math are two very different things. Before we run the real numbers, let's make the strongest, honest case for Dana's decision. Because if we skip this part, we're not being fair, and this channel doesn't do unfair. The case for buying is real. Every mortgage payment Dana makes builds equity. A portion of every payment reduces her loan balance. Over time, she owns more and owes less. That equity is real wealth. It is a forced savings mechanism that works even for people who are not naturally disciplined savers. You pay the mortgage or you lose the house. That pressure creates wealth for millions of people who would never save the equivalent amount voluntarily. Then there is appreciation. U.S. home values have historically appreciated at roughly 3 to 4% per year on average over long periods. On a $320,000 home, that is $9,600 to $12,800 in value added per year before Dana does a single thing. She is not just building equity through payments, she is building equity through the market itself. There is also leverage. Dana used $40,000 to control a $320,000 asset. That is an 8-to-1 leverage ratio. When the home appreciates 4%, she does not earn 4% on her $40,000. She earns 4% on $320,000. That is $12,800 in appreciation on a $40,000 investment. That leverage is the most powerful wealth-building tool most middle-class Americans will ever access. And then there is the inflation hedge. Alex's rent will go up. It has gone up every year in virtually every city for the past 2 decades. Dana's mortgage payment is fixed. In 10 years, Alex might be paying $2,400 for the same apartment. Dana is still paying $1,863 for her house. The fixed payment becomes a more powerful advantage with every passing year. There is also the control argument. Dana can paint the walls. She can renovate the kitchen. She can get a dog without asking anyone. She can build the home she wants. That stability and control has real value that doesn't show up in a spreadsheet, but shows up in daily life. These are the reasons 66% of Americans choose to own. The case is real. The math supports it in the right conditions. The problem is that most people never check whether those conditions apply to their situation. Here is what Dana's mortgage statement does not show her in year 1. Dana's monthly mortgage payment is $1,863. That number is real, but it is not the number she actually pays every month to own that home. Property taxes. The national average property tax rate in the United States is approximately 1.1% of the home's assessed value per year. On a $320,000 home, that is $3,520 per year. Divide by 12. That is $293 per month that Dana pays on top of her mortgage for the right to own the home. Homeowners insurance. The national average for a home in Dana's price range is approximately $1,500 to $2,000 per year. Call it $150 per month. Maintenance and repairs. The standard rule used by every financial planner and real estate professional is to budget 1 to 2% of your home's value per year for maintenance. On a $320,000 home, that is $3,200 to $6,400 per year. Call it $267 to $533 per month. Some months it is zero. Some months it is a $4,000 HVAC replacement on a Tuesday in August. But averaged across the year, the math is unforgiving. Add it up. Dana's mortgage payment, $1,863. Property taxes, $293. Insurance, $150. Maintenance average, $400. Dana's true monthly cost of homeownership, $2,706. Alex is paying $1,800. The gap is $906 per month, not $63, $906. And that is before we talk about the closing costs Dana paid when she bought, typically 2 to 5% of the purchase price, or $6,400 to $16,000 out of pocket at signing, on top of the down payment. But the mortgage interest is the number that quietly does the most damage in the early years. And it is the number nobody talks about at Thanksgiving when they tell you to stop throwing money away. Here is what Dana's first year of mortgage payments actually does. She pays $1,863 per month, $22,356 per year. Of that $22,356, how much goes toward paying down her loan? How much is actually building equity? In year one, on a 30-year mortgage at 7%, approximately $22,100 of Dana's annual payments goes to interest. Approximately $1,900 goes to principal. That is the amortization reality. Dana paid $22,356 in mortgage payments in year one. $1,900 of it reduced her loan. The other $20,456 went to the bank, not to equity, to interest. This is not a complaint about banks. It is just math.
But it is math that almost nobody mentions when they tell you renting is throwing money away. In year one, Dana paid $20,463 in mortgage interest. Alex paid $21,600 in rent. The gap between them is $1,144 per year in favor of Dana on interest alone. But Dana also paid $3,520 in property taxes and $1,800 in insurance and maintenance. The actual gap goes the other direction, by a significant margin. Now, let's run the full 5-year comparison, because this is where the numbers stop being theoretical. Over 5 years, Alex has paid $1,800 a month in rent. Her rent increases by 3% annually, which is below the historical average for most major markets. Her total rent paid over 5 years, approximately $115,000. Alex paid $115,000 to live somewhere for 5 years. Her family is right that this money is gone. That part is true. Over 5 years, Dana has paid $1,863 a month in mortgage payments, plus property taxes, insurance, and maintenance averaging $843 per month more. Her true monthly cost, $2,706. Over 5 years, that is approximately $162,260 in total housing costs, plus the $11,000 in closing costs she paid at purchase. Dana's 5-year total cost of housing, approximately $173,000. Alex spent $115,000. Dana spent $173,000. The $58,000 difference is real money. But Dana has equity, so let's look at that. Dana's home has appreciated 3.5% per year over 5 years. It is now worth approximately $380,000. Her remaining mortgage balance after 5 years of payments at 7% is approximately $296,000. Dana's equity, approximately $84,000. That looks good, until you remember she put $40,000 down, plus $11,000 in closing costs, $51,000 out of pocket at the start. And she has spent $58,000 more than Alex on housing costs over 5 years. Her total investment in this outcome, approximately $109,000. Her equity, $84,000. She is net negative on the pure math by approximately $25,000 at the 5-year mark. Alex, meanwhile, invested her $40,000 in a total market index fund at the start. At an 8% average annual return over 5 years, that $40,000 has grown to approximately $58,700. She has also been investing $400 per month, the difference she saves on housing costs, into the same fund. Those contributions alone have grown to approximately $29,000. Alex's total investable net worth at year 5, approximately $87,700. Same income, same starting point. 5 years later, Alex has $87,700 in liquid, accessible wealth. Dana has $84,000 in home equity that she cannot spend without selling or borrowing against the house. The renter has more, at the 5-year mark, in most scenarios. And that is with a $320,000 home in a market that appreciated at 3.5%. In flat markets or declining markets, the gap widens further in Alex's favor. This is the math landlords don't want you to run. Not because landlords are villains, because the math does not always tell the story the conventional wisdom promises.
But here's the piece that changes everything: the break-even timeline. Buying a home has enormous upfront costs. The down payment, the closing costs, the transaction friction. It takes time for the equity appreciation and the forced savings to overcome that upfront cost disadvantage. That time is called the break-even point, and it is the most important number in the rent versus buy decision that almost no one calculates. In most mid-range US markets, the break-even point on buying versus renting falls between 5 and 7 years. If you buy and stay for longer than your break-even point, buying wins mathematically. If you buy and leave before it, renting would have been the better financial decision.
A confirmed long-term plan to stay. The price-to-rent ratio is the number that tells you which side of this line your city sits on. Here is how to calculate it. Take the purchase price of a home, divide it by the annual rent you would pay for a comparable property. The result is your price-to-rent ratio. A ratio below 15 means buying is almost certainly the better financial decision in that market. A ratio between 15 and 20 is a gray zone. Depends on your time horizon and personal situation. A ratio above 20 means renting is likely the mathematically superior choice for anyone not planning to stay for a decade or more. In San Francisco, the price-to-rent ratio has historically sat above 30. In Austin, it recently crossed 25. In Detroit or Cleveland, it can sit below 10. Same country, completely different math. Same advice, stop throwing money away, applied identically to all of them. That is the problem. There is one more variable that almost never makes it into this conversation: the flexibility premium. Alex can take a job offer in a different city next year without losing $20,000 in transaction costs. Alex can move to a lower cost of living area if her circumstances change. Alex can downsize or upsize her living situation in 30 days. Dana cannot do any of these things without absorbing significant financial friction. And the data on career earnings is consistent. Geographic mobility, the ability to move toward better opportunities, is one of the most powerful predictors of long-term income growth. Homeownership creates a financial anchor that has a real cost in foregone career upside that is nearly impossible to quantify, but absolutely real. Now, let's be clear about when buying wins, because it absolutely does. If you plan to stay in one location for 10 years or more, buying almost always wins in mid-range markets. The break-even math resolves firmly in your favor past that threshold. If you are in a market with a price-to-rent ratio below 15, the math tilts toward buying almost regardless of time horizon. If you have a stable income, a sufficient down payment of at least 20% to avoid PMI, and a long time horizon, the leverage and appreciation advantages of homeownership are genuinely powerful and genuinely difficult for a renter to replicate. And there is a version of this conversation that has nothing to do with math. If owning a home is deeply important to you, for stability, for family, for roots, for the specific life you want to build, that matters. A financial decision does not have to win on a spreadsheet to be the right decision for a specific human life. What matters is that you make it with open eyes, not because someone told you renting is throwing money away. Here are the 3 numbers you need to calculate before you make this decision. First, your local price-to-rent ratio. Find the median home price in your target neighborhood. Find the annual rent for a comparable property. Divide. If the number is above 20, your market math leans toward renting. Second, your personal break-even timeline. How long do you actually plan to stay? Be honest, not how long you hope to stay. How long your job security, your relationship, your life circumstances genuinely support. Third, your down payment opportunity cost. Take the down payment you would use, run it forward at 8% per year for your intended time horizon. That number is what you are giving up in potential investment growth to lock that money into a house. Compare it to the equity you would build. The difference is your true cost of the decision.
Alex is not throwing money away. Alex is paying for housing, flexibility, and the ability to keep her savings compounding. Dana is not making a smart investment. Dana is making a values decision that happens to have real financial advantages in the right conditions and real financial costs in the wrong ones. The question was never whether renting is throwing money away. The question was always, what does this decision actually cost me in my city, at my income, over my specific time horizon? And now you have the framework to answer it. If you want to run your own numbers, your city, your rent, your potential purchase price, your time horizon, I built a calculator that does the full comparison in under 3 minutes. It is inside the Wealth Logician's vault alongside every other tool we have built for this channel. The link is in the description. Hit like if this reframed how you see this decision. Subscribe if you want to do the math on the next one. And I will see you in the next one.